Hello, welcome to Witchfinder's Gaming Vault. Now normally on this series I tend to look at games that are fairly obscure, things you might not have seen before, but today is going to be an exception to that because in this review I'm going to be looking at a classic game that I've never played before. I bought it, checked it worked, put it on a shelf, never really played it, so I'm going to look at it properly for the first time. It's Miner 2049er on the Commodore 64. As you can see, it's a cartridge. That's all I have. I don't have any packaging, so there won't be a packaging review on this one. So there you go, that's the cartridge. So let's take a look at the fact file for this game. Miner 2049er was released in 1983 on the Commodore 64. I'm assuming this is a European release, although it doesn't actually say anything on the cartridge to say one way or another whether it is. The game was published by Reston Software and it was developed by Big 5 Software. The price I paid for the game was £3 and the current going rate, well, for a box complete copy recently sold on eBay, you can expect to pay £70 plus. As for a loose cartridge, there weren't any on there in recent eBay sales, but I'd expect because it's a fairly desirable game that you might pay up to £10 or £15 for a loose cartridge. So that's it for the introduction for this video. Let's plug the game in and play it.
So when you plug the cartridge in and switch the Commodore 64 on, this is what happens. Immediately you get a demo of what is the first level of the game, and when that demo is completed, which is when he completes the first level, you do get a small title screen as well, which we'll see in a moment. Here it comes. So the title screen says Bill Hoag's Miner 2049er, published by Reston Software, copyright 1983, and the programming is by Frank G, the mysterious Frank G. Don't know who he is, but he programmed this version of the game, which originated I think on the 8-bit Atari a couple of years earlier, so it was already a year or two old when it was ported to the Commodore 64. And then it goes into the demo for the first level again, so let's not watch that again because I'm actually going to play this level in a moment by pressing fire. Okay, so the game begins on this level that you've already seen on the demo, and it looks a little bit like the first stage of Donkey Kong, I guess you could say. And the idea of the game is that you play the role of Bounty Bob, who I think is a Mountie, and you've got to explore all these caves and find some criminal, I think, is the basic aim of the game. To do that, you have to walk over every inch or every section of every platform and colour them in, as you can see as I'm doing. Now there are enemies patrolling the stages. These mines are radioactive and the enemies are radioactive creatures of some sort, but when you collect an item for a short amount of time they become killable, which you do by just walking into them and you get some points for that. So I'll do that when I've collected this item here. You can tell when they're killable because they turn into little monsters walking sideways with smiley faces. So just finish this level off. There's a time limit for the level as well, so you have to be wary of that. Just get that and complete this level, and there we go. The first level's pretty easy, just to ease you into things. So on to stage 2, and the idea is basically the same, but the difficulty quite literally ramps up here because there's a load of ramps, and these ramps you slide down them. Basically I'll just show you that by just going past this first one here. There you go, you slide down the ramps and they make things a little bit more difficult. So it introduces the game new aspects on almost every stage, new things to deal with, so that's quite cool. I'm gonna get this guy, probably not. Oh, I nearly killed myself then. Yeah, so again you've got to colour in all the platforms, avoid the enemies, collect the items, and then kill the enemies when you've collected the items. Same principle. The time limit on this level is definitely a little bit more strict. It is quite difficult to complete the stage. Do this bit. As you can see, one fall down the ramps at the wrong time, and that happens, well, I mean you have to do that anyway because you have to colour in the platforms above the ramps anyway. So I have managed to eliminate all the enemies though, so that makes it a little bit easier. It's just now basically getting around and doing everything before the time runs out. So back up to the top now, still got 15 seconds left. So moving on to the graphics and sound, very primitive. You can see it's a very early game. I think this originated on the Atari 8-bit. I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong there. But what should I do here? Let's do this bit first. All the way back down to the bottom again. As you can see, yeah, so I think it originated on the Atari 8-bit in maybe 1981 and then was ported to the C64 in '83. So yeah, it is a very primitive game. graphics very limited in terms of colour, animation and all that kind of stuff. I think this will be it now. There we go, completed the level with a few seconds to go, and I think that's the best you can do. There might be an optimal way to go around the stage, but I haven't perhaps learned that yet. So on to stage 3, and that introduces another concept, which is these elevators or teleporters. So I'll just show you how these work. So when you walk over one of them, the numbers for the other ones start to light up and it cycles through them, and then when you press space when it's on the number that you want, then you materialise at the one you want, basically. So you can use that to negotiate through the stages. Can I drop down here? Yes, I can. Okay, as well. Colour all this stuff in while I'm here. So yeah, as I said, graphics very simple, just a couple of frames of animation for Bounty Bob, and let's go up to level 3 here. And the little creatures aren't very well animated either, but it does the job. It's got a bit of charm, I would say. They're definitely not great graphics by modern standards, or even by late Commodore 64 standards, but at the time they're probably quite impressive. Sound wise, again, pretty basic, no music, just this crunching sound as he's walking around, and also, oh, could have done with him not being there. Okay, let's do this. Don't hit him. Yeah, so there's the crunching sound, there's a noise for jumping, and a noise when you kill the enemies, and that's probably about it, really. Let's just get up here and get this guy. Okay, nearly there. I have played this a few times, by the way, before I started recording, just to get to grips with the gameplay a little bit. This is quite challenging here. There we go, I've done it. So there we go, that's on to level 4 now, no lives lost as yet. It does get harder, and it is quite hard to get to grips with some of those concepts to begin with. There's a lot of trial and error involved. This one's where it starts to get really quite tricky, because you've got to jump between all these tiny little platforms and colour them in. So you're always having to time your jumps just right and not go flying. Let's just collect that there. And also obviously you've got to avoid the enemies or pick up an item before and get the enemies before they change back to being deadly. Now there's not an obvious way to work out. Oh, should have on there. Should get this. There's not an obvious way to work out when the enemy. Oh dear, that's where you make a mistake. Just doing a jump at the wrong time and you end up flying into the middle of nowhere and dying. Well, that gives me a chance to show you that what does happen when you die and a level restarts is the colours change, which is quite a nice touch. What I was just saying was, yeah, the enemies, it's hard to tell when they're going to change back, so you really just need to be a little bit lucky, but also keep an eye on them and not just jump at them blindly without thinking about how long they've been turned into smiley enemies instead of dangerous ones. Let's go up here. So yeah, falling any significant distance will result in losing a life, as does walking into an enemy, running out of time. There's probably other things that kill you as well that I haven't come across yet. So that's pretty much it. It's, as I say, quite a primitive looking game, but it's definitely a fun game. Where am I going here now? Over here? Yep. And then over there? Yep, why not? Yeah, so yeah, as I say, not a great looking game, but it's certainly quite a bit of fun. I'm enjoying playing it. It's certainly challenging as well. Ooh. Nearly there. Where now? And it's quite an influential game as well. It was the inspiration for games like Manic Miner, for example, probably Chucky Egg as well. It's got some similarities to that, I would say. Nearly there. Just drop down there. Yeah. There's a very fine art sort of what's the word? I don't know. Like it's very close to whether you can drop down or not. So you have to be a little bit careful, and that's more by trial and error that you learn how far you can drop. There is a finite amount of space you can drop, but yeah, I don't know what I'm saying really. Yeah, so yeah, it's a fun game. As I say, there's not much more to say about it. It's a classic platformer. This is as far as I've got this level, and I've got a couple of lives left, or at least one. So hopefully I can make some progress with it. I think, if I remember rightly, that wine glass there is like poisoned, so you can't collect it, and if you do, you die. But yeah, it's very sort of precise jumping required, and a little bit of thought going into it as well to work out where you go next. So I should be able to jump over here, collect this item, and then, yeah, there we go. And there's some ramps here as well, so this is going to be awkward. Just let this guy walk into me. Oh, there we go. Oh, well, I've got there now, so I guess there I am. So now I'm going to have to jump onto a moving platform, I think. Oh, and I made it, so that was good. Yeah, so moving platforms are a new thing introduced in this level. Oh, that was stupid. The time limit's definitely going to do me some, cause me some problems here, I think. Let's get him. Oh, what happened? He changed back. Oh no, I got him. I thought he got me. Oh, okay, back down there again then. Oh, let's jump over here now. Yeah, so there's lots of different places you've got to move, and it's really quite challenging to work out where to go. But what? I've still got loads left to do, and I don't know where to go next. And drop down there, and then down there, and then go over here, I suppose, and down there, over there. Yeah, okay, and over there. Okay. I just need to jump on this one now. No, I've missed it and I've died, and that's the problem. If you time your jump wrong, you float down, crash into the ground, and it's game over. And yet oddly it didn't seem to fall any further than I've fallen by just dropping off the edge of some platforms, so it does seem a bit inconsistent in that respect. This is one that you really have to keep plumbing away at and working out how best to achieve the getting around, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, okay, at least I've got those two this time, so I don't cause any problems at the bottom there. So maybe I can just walk onto this. There we go. Oh, okay. I mean, I didn't need to do that because I could just jump on that platform there anyway. So yeah, I'm going to be taking a totally different approach to trying to complete this stage this time. Oh no, landed on the thing. I think that's game over now. Yeah, so it's hard. It gets hard quite quickly, and that's as far as I'm going to go with the game. That was 5 levels. You've seen a good flavour of it, and I'm sure most people watching this have probably played the game in the past. It's only me that's not played it for like 40 odd years, properly at least. So there you go. That was a Miner 2049er. Very simple looking game, but quite fun, addictive and challenging. Certainly I think there's 10 stages in it, so it'll take you some time to work your way through all those 10 stages if you want to plug away at it. So yeah, that's it. I'm going to keep that one. It only cost me a few quid, and it's a bit of a classic, so it's worth keeping hold of. If you've got any thoughts about the game, then let me know in the video comments as always, please, and that'll do for this one.
That was Miner 2049er. Nice to play a classic game for the first time properly. So now it's time to pick out a game for next time around. As always, picking a game from this tin of different games for different systems at random. So next time around I will be playing... Ooh, interesting one. Donkey Kong Jungle Beat on the Nintendo GameCube. That's got an interesting control mechanism. So next time around, as I say, I'll be playing that game. Join me for that. Thanks very much for watching this one. See you next time.